You know, the NFL season is getting serious when Thanksgiving has come and gone, and we'll make sure you're ready for all the big games for Week 12 with the latest trends, injury updates, odds, and picks as OFN NFL Preview with Tony Mejia on the Ourlads Football Radio Network starts now. All right, thanks for checking back with us once again as we preview Week 12 in the NFL. And we're going to do that on a 24th of November 2017. That is the day after Thanksgiving. So here we are, ready to go. Even though we do have some games already in the books, we'll recap those games first, and then we'll preview and give you our update and analysis on everything going on for the games coming up, including injuries, trends, odds, everything for Week 12. So let me introduce my co-host to the show. He is an exclusive handicapper at VegasInsider.com and an independent sports columnist, Tony Mejia. So, Tony, I guess I got to ask you, after that Seattle game, I know you're sticking with New England to win the Super Bowl. There ain't no reason that you shouldn't. So are you starting to feel uneasy about that Seattle side, though?
Yeah, well, check this out. So, obviously, we knew about Sherman and then once Cam Chancellor's news broke over the weekend,
that's true.
I took that as a sign. My guaranteed winner for that Monday Night Football game, sadly, was the Atlanta Falcons. So I've already given up the ghost on.
Well, yeah, and then they go out there and they played. They didn't play a great game either, and it was an okay game. It wasn't like the Houston game though. They just didn't make enough plays when they needed to make them. Stupid fake field goal. Really, I don't know what that was about.
Right.
But anyway, look, it did take Atlanta's best game though. I mean, that was, I don't think there's any question. Atlanta played the best game of the season. And now we'll find out whether or not they can use that to keep moving along. So, yeah, I just think that when you take those two guys, I said it myself on Monday, you take those two guys out of the secondary, it's hard enough for Seattle to win the Super Bowl with them.
Yeah, and so I've already done this, right? So now I'm rooting for Atlanta, which basically means Seattle loses. I think they're done, although technically they're not. And as I'm watching the game, I'm getting reminders as to why the Seahawks are still valid as a potential dark horse, because Russell Wilson is making magic happen out of very little, and receivers are stepping up. We'll see if they get a running game. They're going to have to be a completely different team now, a team that wins shootouts. So the whole Darrell Bevel, let's play conservatively and let our defense dictate, has to go out the window. And they're going to have to put it all on Russell Wilson. And I do think they've got a chance to still make the postseason, but. As far as my champion pick, they're out. Philly's in, and I got Philly winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, so you're going to put – all right. So I like that. Now you've joined the club, baby. I like it. So, the Eagles are just playing awesome. There's no question about it. They're playing great, and that's the one team that, I mean, that and for you to just not only pick them to win the NFC but the Super Bowl, I think you've also seen what I've seen, and that if they match up with the Patriots, they are the one team that can beat the Patriots.
Yeah, no question, because I'm not sold on the Patriots defense at all. They're going to skate playing in the AFC East this rest of the way. They'll see bad teams. And then I think in the playoffs they might get caught in the AFC by somebody, but that in that regard I'll believe it when I see it. Once they get to a team that's as dynamic as the Eagles, as disruptive as the Eagles front four is, once you reach that matchup and it's like, all right, it's Philly, it's New England, it's a neutral site, then New England, Philadelphia became the pick.
Now, I usually when I've been handicapping games, not professionally like you, of course, but I've been handicapping games for probably on the air and with my network for a good 15 years, especially since I've had the network over 12 years. For football and a whole bunch of things, but for football specifically, since this is a football show. And one of the things that I prided myself on was never being under 500. I'm also somebody who likes to pick more games than less. And I know it's the opposite. Usually the less games, you're more safer, because that's what Vegas wants. Vegas wants you to have more games. But I'm for whatever reason, it's always been the opposite for me. I'm always better when I'm doing more games. So maybe that's part of the reason why I really have always been better in college. I've always been better in college. But last year I actually had a better year in the NFL. So I thought, okay, maybe something's changing. But no, this season has been really bad for me in the NFL. I've never finished under 500 with my handicapping in the NFL before or in college. And I'm doing it right now at heading into week 12. And I'm starting to get a little nervous. So I did some research. And I started to say to myself, what is it? What am I doing that I'm not paying enough attention into this? So I went in and I started doing some stats. Remember we've talked about the win and cover thing before. And
Right.
the win and cover thing is something that I've always thought of myself. And I use that even going into the season. And then I realized why I lost my my pride of that trend, because it didn't go so well earlier in the season. So by not really paying attention to it like I should have, I probably psychologically kind of didn't go with or against it. And I'll show you why. If you look at it, win and cover over the season, 132 teams have won and covered this year. Only 22 have lost. Now, this is just my stats. I might be off a game or two because I did it all myself. So 132, 22, and 6. You win the game, you're going to cover the game. So that's an incredible number. Last week, it was 12-1-1. This week already, 3-0-0 after Thursday's games. But here, this is where it screwed me up. The first 6 weeks of the season, it was only 56% of the time did teams win and cover. So I guess I was kind of getting off. I didn't figure that out in time. And then once you start to get off of your own trends and you start to like try to do this and that, they screw yourself up. So for the last 5 weeks, the favorite is back to winning and covering 82% of the time, 57-12, including 3-0 yesterday. So I wanted to point that out because I decided to refocus on that. And even though there are 5 double-digit spreads, and even though double-digit spreads, I try not to hold that into this number. Sometimes that doesn't really count too much into this because we know it's very hard to cover double-digit spreads, more often than not. So what do you think about that? The fact that the first 6 weeks of the season, that it was almost 50% that you were winning, and so you were actually winning games a lot of the times the first 6 weeks of the season and not covering.
Yeah, I mean the number was salty early on in the season. It's still always a factor. I mean, at this point, you're being dared to take the favorite by laying double digits or whatever it is. Yesterday, I thought that the Redskins-Giants spread was too high at 7, and I stayed away from that. I just liked the under, so I was really happy about that halftime score. And in that game, Washington ends up covering late, scoring the last 10 points.
They got lucky to cover that one. Yeah,
right. And they had no business covering that game. Sometimes it's just that, and I had I been forced to make a spread pick, it would have been New York.
Well, it is something else, though. I mean, if you think about it, where the favorites are winning, and matter of fact, you look at it, and so the favorites are winning and covering, and then so basically, I guess to just surmise here, the thing is just I would go after, which I've already done. That's why I'm 3-0 this week, as I've just said. And look, it's not easy to just pick the winner and the cover, because you just that's actually it sounds easy, but it's not, as you know. But it's just what it's telling you is don't worry about the point spread as much. Even though, like we just said, with double digits, you might want to be a little bit more hesitant. And the other thing, of course, is just the favorites. As I said, the favorites are just winning 82% of the time over the last 5 weeks. So with the favorites winning as much as they are, that's something to go with. So
yeah, I mean, look, there's a distinction between sharp money and public money, square money, in Vegas, and a lot of that is related to the point spread. But the bottom line is this: teams, especially now where you know what you're getting for the most part, having seen them play 10, 11 games, is who do you these spreads are based on simulations of millions of games, times. That's why the lines are so sharp. You look at college basketball already, comes down to the final possession every time, and we're in November on November 24th. It's computer simulations. It's uncanny, and that's why there are so many big buildings out in Las Vegas. So because of that, you have to ask yourself late in games, whose hands do you want the ball in?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because odds are, you're going to be one score away from either covering or catching a beat. And who do you feel confident in is always ranks high on my list. As to decisions I make. I thought the Lions, were going to win outright yesterday. Might have. If Matthew Stafford doesn't get hurt, because he was obviously not able to push off his foot. Haven't seen any news on him today, but I was telling my brother-in-law we might have seen the last of Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and of course
season.
Detroit won't win another game. So anyway, so that's the combo I'm going to go with: win and cover, which has been always the tried and true. Matter of fact, 24-4 the last 2 weeks, including 3-0 on Thursday. And then taking the favorites, I'm going to lean towards right now. I'm leaning towards the favorites, which I've already done with the 3-0 on Thursday, 82% over the last 5 weeks, and even higher with the 3-0. So as you mentioned, Minnesota is one of the favorites, short favorites that beats Detroit. I think, look, I don't think anybody should ever. That's it. It's Case Keenum. He's not coming out. I mean, it's done. The only question is going to be, like we talked about last week, is what are they going to do in the offseason and all that. But Case Keenum's just, you know what I really like about Case Keenum more than anything is I've been so impressed by how good he is under pressure. It is amazing over the last few weeks when I have seen that guy. It looks like he's about to get sacked, and he puts the ball on target to guys that are like 20 yards down the field.
Oh, I mean, he's been sharp, and certainly he deserves to hold on to the gig until he doesn't, and that's always been my stance on it. I mean, Bridgewater's is waiting in the wings. I think it's great for him, actually, that he's not being thrust into a situation, because at this point, even if he gets in there due to injury, or if Keenum throws 8 picks in over a 2-game stretch and you have to pull him, he is not, he's benefiting right now from reps without the pressure of having to game plan for teams, as a starter. He's doing so as a backup, but it's great that they're easing him back in. And yeah, I mean, Keenum, second in QBR, going into this week, it just speaks volumes as to the work that he's done, especially since he's done it with Stephon Diggs really being a non-factor because of the hamstrings. We saw him make an appearance last week, last night or yesterday. Kyle Rudolph, who's had a quiet season, he was obviously big. So this is a passing game, and obviously Thielen, through 10 games more receiving yards than anybody in the franchise history besides Randy Moss. So no fluke, and you have to tip your hat to Keenum for getting weapons involved and keeping them afloat despite numerous situations going on in that offense.
And no Cook, and that's big.
Right. I mean, that was the key variable. Yeah. Immediately, all of a sudden, you have to replace a guy that's headed for Rookie of the Year. And to their credit, McKinnon and Latavius Murray have both stepped up and stayed healthy.
Yeah, because especially they've at least had some guys that they could turn to, especially McKinnon, that has some good speed in the backfield. Unlike the Cowboys. The Cowboys are just lifeless. And look, nobody can tell me that this doesn't have a lot to do with the off the field nonsense of Ezekiel Elliott. Sure, it hurts to have Smith out a game or two and Lee out. It definitely hurts, along with Elliott. I get all that. But when you get Smith back, then offensively, you should be a little bit better than this, but they're not getting anything. They got nothing in the backfield. Their backups are terrible. And for a team so reliant on the running game, remember we talked about this with Jacksonville. This is the reason why I think the Jags should draft a running back in the early rounds, because when you're so reliant on the running game, you can't not have a real competent, good, sound, game-changing, even just in limited touches type of backup. Because if this happens, like you see with Elliott, it can completely destroy your offense. And Dak Prescott can't do anything without the running game.
Right. I mean, and I think a lot of that is offensive line play too. I mean, we saw yesterday Collins and Smith return banged up. both weren't sharp. Both had costly penalties. Both were beat. And we've talked about it since week one, really. Well, not week one, but since the first month that this offensive line didn't look like it looked last year.
Yep.
That was pretty obvious right out of the gate. And you had a couple new names in there trying to get acclimated. Well, the season snowballs, and then you either get with it or you don't, and they never quite got with it, except for that 1 week where they, we opened November really looking sharp and taking down the Chiefs, who at that point were playing excellent ball. They beat the Chiefs at home. It looked great.
Yeah, it did, right.
And that's been their last win.
Yeah, and that's not really a great win now, the way the Chiefs are playing. So
true, but the bottom is completely fallen out. I mean, that was a game where Elliott shined, and the offensive line looked great. Prescott looked sharp, and they beat back the Chiefs. And then Smith deals with injuries that he hadn't played since until yesterday. With the back issue, and then Elliott obviously accepting his suspension. So just goes to show you, man, overnight you go from the penthouse to the outhouse.
And the other thing too is if you were to look at it, and I've said this, for the last couple of years, I even said in the offseason, I couldn't believe that they gave Williams. I know it was only like $10 million, but I don't think the guy deserved $1 million. I mean, they basically have two really top skill position players in Elliott and Des Bryant. And then that's it. I mean, Jason Witten is like, almost 40. And he gets too involved in the offense for a guy that has absolutely no game-breaking ability whatsoever. And they got nothing else. There's no weapons for Dak Prescott, which is why Elliott is so important. So once you take the running game out, now the defense can concentrate on going after Dak Prescott. They don't have to worry about the running game. And they basically just, they come after him big time, and there's nothing to worry about, especially when, and Des Bryant, as good as a receiver he is, he's not a down the field type of guy. So there's just, for the last 2 or 3 years, I just could not believe why the Cowboys have not been able to go out there and get another receiver to help out with Bryant. Look, I like Switzer, but you have Beasley. What are you doing drafting Switzer when you have Beasley? I mean,
and they don't utilize either guy right.
True. Yes. So whatever, but that's their fault. That's something that they're going to have to deal with, and they've got a long way to go. And it looks like by the time maybe they do get Elliott back, it's going to be too late, because this is not the AFC, where the Chargers are now in pretty good shape because they've won 5 out of 7. And considering that last spot or two for the wild card is completely wide open, Chargers are starting to look pretty good right now.
Oh, I mean, I would think that they're the odds-on favorite to get there now. I mean, I did the write-ups of all the Thursday games, previewing my look ahead, and so I've done extensive work on LA. And at this point, I said if they're going to get this game, it's almost a must-win just to get to 5 and 6. You can't really do anything for 4 and 7. The rest of the schedule just works out their way. They've got the Browns and Redskins at home over the next 2 weeks. Then they're at the Chiefs, obviously the toughest game left, but certainly winnable, and we'll see what the Chiefs have going on mid-month. And then at the Jets, and New Year's Eve they'll host the Raiders, potentially to seal up that 6th playoff spot. To me, if I've got a future on will the Chargers make the playoffs, I take the positive on that.
Okay. All right, let's get to the games now that are going to take place on Sunday. And for the second straight week, the Rams are atop of the list as far as the game of the week here. They're taking on the Saints, and you've got a couple of teams that not many people thought would be in this spot when the season began. You could be looking at the division winners for the South and the West playing each other in this one. Maybe this is a possible playoff preview as well. Rams really need this one because losing last week in a game that they could probably show everybody that they are for real. Fact is, closer game, I think everybody would have been fine with, but it just wasn't one of their fine games. Matter of fact, they've had 2 games where they haven't looked very good this year, and they were against the 2 of the 3 toughest teams they've played, Minnesota and Seattle. The other plus 500 team that they played was the Jacksonville game. Now Woods is out, so that's going to hurt him a little bit, but I kind of think, Watkins kind of now slides over to being the man. I think they're okay there with Kupp and so forth. I don't think it's a major issue. I'm more concerned with the Saints defense. We talked about early in the season they lose Anzalone, a good young rookie, but okay, you can deal with that. But then all of a sudden you lose Okafor last week, and I was not very happy about that because we had talked about what a big addition he had been. And now Lattimore is dealing with an ankle injury, and it doesn't look like he's going to play. He's walking around in a boot. I said this during the draft when everybody was talking about, oh, would the Jets take Lattimore? And he top 5 pick. I was screaming my head off. No way can Marshawn Lattimore be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Not because he's not a talented kid, as we see when he plays. He's a talented kid. He never stays healthy. He has always been hurt at Ohio State. And here we go again. And this is a big blow for the Saints because Crawley's also banged up. That's what kind of concerns me about this one. They come from behind to beat the Redskins. That's got to take a little bit out of them. I'm thinking this is a good spot for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, well, Lattimore's been fantastic. If you ask me who is responsible for that defense turning around, I mean, there's multiple candidates, but he's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sure.
I mean, certainly his loss is immense. If he can't go, he can't go. Ankle injuries will happen. Oh, Ben Simmons is out. So the whole point being, if they're facing an offense that really needs to get back in a rhythm, considering that their only score last week was on a scripted first drive that went perfectly, and then they couldn't do anything after that. But you get back home. To me, I don't think Goff or McVay are people that get rattled confidence-wise. Mm-hmm. So
sure.
I think they'll be fine. And yeah, I mean, at this point, I would say that they should be the favorite in this game because the Saints were on the ropes. Washington had them. They're a 2.5-point favorite. I see right now.
Yeah.
So the line is probably what it should be. And as good as New Orleans is, and they certainly have a special vibe about them, this is a spot where if they lose, it would surprise me.
Yeah. And look, I think, look, if they had covered against the Redskins, like I said the week before with the Bills, and you had taken the Saints like I had for all those weeks in a row, and you take them again. But now that they lost against the spread last week, now you can kind of jump off the ship if you want here, and I'm actually thinking of doing that more than anything because of the Lattimore injury. With Okafor out, and now Lattimore looking like out, and the potential of Crawley being out, and he's their second best corner. That's asking for way too much. All right, Green Bay and Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, another opportunity for an easy primetime win after beating up on Tennessee. And they get a Packer team that look, one good game, and that was against the Bears, and that's it. I mean, Hundley is just not ready right now. I'm not sure he's ever going to be ready. He just doesn't. I don't think he just has it. I think he's always going to be a backup. They've lost 4 to 5. This is not the Bears, but it's 14. And this is one of those double-digit spreads we're talking about. No Juju Smith. I don't think that's going to be a worry. Martavis Bryant is back. They've won 5 straight. But keep this in mind. They haven't covered their last 2 games as double-digit favorites. 14 is an awful lot of points to give up. Clay Matthews is a game-time decision for the Packers, who, again, are down to Jamal Williams. There's nothing wrong with that, with the other 2 running backs banged up. I don't know. It's a lot of points, but obviously, for my sake, I can't take the Packers. So if I'm taking the game, I'm taking the Steelers.
Right. And it's a Sunday nighter, so it's going to be wagered heavily. And I think public money would probably be most on the Steelers right now. It's at 55%. And to me, yeah, it looks like a situation where you're fading Hundley being able to get a backdoor cover. And we'll see whether that's exactly what ends up happening. But he hasn't executed when they've needed to. Maybe the Steelers soften up late in the game. But yeah, I mean, this is a game where they're deserving to be 2-touchdown favorites based on what we've seen from both teams over the last couple of weeks.
And I gotta believe that if the Packers wind up, let's say they end up losing 6 out of 7 to end the season, and they end up 6-10 or something. I got to believe that there will be some serious talk in Green Bay about moving on from McCarthy. And I understand Rodgers is out. I get that. But still.
Well, I think it depends on Rodgers, though. I think his input will be sought out, and if he says he wants to continue with McCarthy, I mean, it's essentially his decision. Obviously we're lost without you. If you go down, you're going to be back next year. Who do you want to work for and work with?
All right. So also a double-digit spread. Kansas City favorite by 10 over Buffalo. And, I was surprised that the spread didn't move when Tyrod Taylor got the job back, because I don't think the spread's 10 before the Charger game. So I don't. Why is it still 10? Peterman's not the quarterback. So I don't know. I mean, I know Taylor wasn't looking all that great, and the whole thing, all that controversy over the last week or two, to me, once again, I mean, the media they're so clueless in these situations. They don't get it. I think everything McDermott did in my mind was perfect. This is what you should always do. This is what I cry for, and always want my coaches to do when the starting quarterback is doing nothing. When the starting quarterback is not the future of your team, what do? You say, okay, I'm going to give somebody a shot. I always say, give the guy half. Give the guy a game. I don't care what you give him. Give him a series, for crying out loud. But stop doing the same freaking thing with the same guy who's no good. So that's what McDermott does. He brings in the young kid. He goes, all right, let me give him a shot. Let me throw him in there. Now, how he said it and all that other thing, all right, whatever. But I don't even care. The fact is, he gave him a shot. He was not prepared for it, not ready for it. You go back to Taylor. So the way he's handled this, in my mind, McDermott is perfectly fine. Taylor's the one that's got to step it up, and they also have to play better defense. But, they're playing a Chief team that's playing so bad right now. It's that Andy Reid offense all over again. When it's going great, it looks like the best thing in the world. When it's not going great, you can't do anything. And Alex Smith doesn't look good. So I'm sorry. I don't think the Chiefs can just turn it on that fast, even as bad as the Bills are playing. So and I got to think Tyrod's going to have a little bit of a chip in his shoulder. If I'm looking for an upset play, this might be one of them.
Well, I mean, I like Kansas City a lot in this game. To rehash the Buffalo thing, I'll leave it at this. I didn't hate the move when it was made. I certainly understood it, and I think that it's fine that they're going back to Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
At this point, I've heard analysis that, oh, you're breaking Peterman. No, you're not. You gave him a shot. He failed, and then maybe he'll be better for it. And if he's not, that's on him. But as far as losing the locker room over the move, I think I think the one caveat on what I'm saying is if they would have stuck with Peterman for this week, I think you have a potential to lose the locker room. Now,
sure.
I think everything will work out fine. But to me, I think the Chiefs were victimized by nasty conditions at East Rutherford. It was tough to move the ball for both teams, and Andy Reid had a horrible week for whatever reason, coming off a bye even, making calls that made any sense whatsoever. So I just think you chalk that up to a bad game. And now you're facing a Bills attack that you should be able to handle. You should be able to stop the run, and you should be able to move the ball against that defense. So to me, I think that this is intentionally high. This will probably be one of my picks, even though I don't like laying this heavy a number in my super contest picks. But I'm gonna lay the 10 and expect a 3-touchdown win.
All right. Yeah, I just want to see. Look, would it shock me to see the Chiefs playing well again? No. But they're going to have to go out there and do it. I mean, they've lost 4 to 5. They're not playing well, and the Bills aren't playing well either. I mean, both teams aren't playing well. And no Benjamin, so that's not going to be all that great for Buffalo. They've lost 3 straight, 1-4 and 1 ATS last 6. So this could be an ugly game. But we'll see. I mean, if anything, this is more of. I mean, for me, this is definitely more of intuition than trends or stats or whatever. It's more of, okay, I'm gonna roll here, roll the dice that bringing Taylor back in, and maybe he is going to step up his game. And because the Chiefs aren't, I don't believe that they're going to play all that great. Maybe they'll score more than they did last week, but I got to see it. Well, you know what? The Chiefs need a quick fix too, and maybe this is it.
I can vent to you because I don't really talk football with many people. I don't understand though why the win being what it was isn't being utilized as more of an excuse. I mean, and feel free to disagree with me completely, kind of do. But I just think going into that game, waking up that morning, it's like, all right, Chiefs, Giants, this is a lot for the Chiefs, but man, they're being forced to play with 50-mile-an-hour winds. Obviously, they're being forced to play. You play at all costs, but 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, that's going to be tough. And you've got Alex Smith, and he went into reverse game manager mode. But why, if in normal conditions, why wouldn't we revert to the opinion that what we've seen from the Chiefs this season has been remarkably different from what we've seen in years past from Smith to where they've been dominant?
You mean just from this one game, or are you talking about?
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people are just saying, "Wow, the Chiefs are done. We're done with them." I mean, it's the ultimate overreaction, in my opinion, to what we've seen all season.
What are they done with?
We did last week with a built-in excuse.
What are they done with? Are they done with them just to win the Super Bowl, or are they done with? They just not going to pick them?
I've heard people say that they're going to be overtaken for the division by the Chargers. That they're there to be had.
No, I can't see that. No, I think they're gonna. I say again, I think they're gonna figure it out, and maybe it does start this week. That they're gonna start to get it going again. And I've seen this, too. I mean, you see this from Andy Reid teams all the time. That's why I started the whole thing by talking about the way this offense is run. They go in spurts. They can be super hot, super great, and then all of a sudden they're so bad that it's just unwatchable. But then all of a sudden they get going again, and they're going to get going again. And so they got more than enough time to be competitive. But Super Bowl, yeah, I'm not even thinking about that anymore. But winning the division, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that they're winning the division. I mean, I like the Chargers, but I don't like we're just talking about the wild card for the Chargers. We're not talking about the division.
I agree with you there.
They're playing the Chiefs in Kansas City, right? One more time, Chargers.
Yeah, that game is at Arrowhead.
Okay.
It's week 14, is it? 15?
Okay. Maybe they'll flex that game. I don't know what.
Well, yeah, week 15, December 16th. Right now, it's a night game, so it's.
Oh, it is.
It's a Thursday nighter, I think.
Oh, okay. Good.
No, it's a Saturday nighter.
Saturday night game. Good. That could be very important. All right. Yeah, this is one of those games that if you take you take the Bills like I am and Chiefs win 30-0, then you feel like an idiot. But we'll see. Chiefs once the Chiefs get out of it, like if they have a good game this week, they get out of it, then they'll be fine. Then I have no doubt that they'll be fine again. But you just got to pick the right week of when things are going to start to turn in their favor again. All right, Carolina and the Jets. Carolina's a 5-point favorite against the Jets. This is one of those scary games that I stayed away from. That even though that I think Carolina is going to win, and I just talked about the whole favorite thing, it's not 100%. And so this is the one game that I could actually see that Carolina win and the Jets cover because the Jets are 5-0 against the spread at home this year. So the Jets have been very good at home. They've won 3 out of 5. One of the losses was that really close loss to the Patriots. So, and Carolina coming off the bye with the Jets, but, Carolina was a little bit hotter than the Jets. So sometimes you get hot going to the bye, and I can see Carolina as one of those teams with Cam Newton that maybe they come out of the bye a little sluggish, and this could be a pretty low-scoring, ugly game, which would help the Jets. So, Carolina is going to win this game. I don't really have much doubt about that. But I'm just a little bit afraid of those 5 points based on the fact that the Jets have done so well at home.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, and we'll see what focus the Panthers come back out with. That's always the key of this, coming off the late bye. But I think they get back Greg Olsen, so obviously that's a big deal. And then if Ryan Khalil comes back, this is the group we get to see for the rest of the season. So that makes this a huge game if Khalil plays. Because Jets obviously a pretty good defense. We'll see how seriously they take Carolina coming off a bye if they have their offensive line intact and their center back.
Yeah, and I think at Carolina, look, I'm starting to think about, all right, how reasonable is it to think about them as a Super Bowl team? I think they were about 25-1. And they've actually been that way for a couple of weeks. I actually put them into my futures portfolio on November 16th at 25-1, and I like that number. I won't like it if it comes down much further, and it might be by now. But part of that is just because, look, they've done it before just recently. They've got a quarterback that if he's playing well, he could be a difference maker. They have a good defense. If Kuechly can stay on the field, And that's and McCaffrey, that running game is starting to look better than it did earlier this season when it was terrible. And that's the NFL, is that you can't. That's like you were saying with the Chiefs. You just can't make rash decisions about teams for more than week to week. You just can't. I mean, because things change real fast in the NFL with these teams. And I could see Carolina becoming a pretty dangerous team. Now, I still think the Eagles are a lot better than they are, but they could get better. So I think the Panthers are definitely a nice little sleeper to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's go to Jacksonville and Arizona. And, Jacksonville played the type of sluggish game we kind of thought they would against Cleveland. A lot of teams go into Cleveland nowadays and kind of look sluggish and come out of there with a win. So I don't think that was a big surprise of what happened there. They've won 4 straight now. But, I kind of like this game as this possible upset here. I just love the storyline of Blaine Gabbert going up against the Jags. That intrigues me. We talked about Gabbert looking pretty good in the preseason. He looked pretty good last week. They didn't lose because of Blaine Gabbert, that's for sure. I was surprised how bad the defense played against Tom Savage. That was the big surprise. So, Gabbert played well enough to win. And so that's the question. Is it Blake Bortles, if Arizona's defense can actually play up to what we think they can play up to, and Bortles doesn't have a good game, this is a possibility of an upset. I don't see the Jags just going on a 7-8 game win streak. They're just not that good offensively. I still think they got the best defense in the NFL. But Blake Bortles is still not very good. So that's going to catch up to him sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, Bortles has been questionable outside of the continental United States.
Yeah.
He was great in London. But yeah, so okay. How about last week with your win and cover theory?
Oh,
that was
yes.
nonsense.
Oh yes.
And I benefited, but it was pretty ridiculous.
How about that terrible call though? Like early in, was there remember it was like 2.5 minutes to go. The first fumble that the stupid official blows the whistle, and if he doesn't blow the whistle, the Jags would have scored a touchdown. I mean, they have told these refs not to blow the whistle, and they've done a very good job, most of them, that they won't blow the whistle. And then you'll see these stupid, like remember the Thanksgiving Day thing that happened where they returned the kick for a touchdown at the end of the game.
Yeah.
They didn't blow the whistle because that's what they're doing nowadays. They're just letting it go. We'll figure it out later. But that idiot blew the whistle in the Cleveland game, and it almost cost the Jags.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, yeah, they had a crazy situation, just like the Arizona one. But then again, maybe if you bought like an extra point, because what was that, like a 2-point spread or something like that, Arizona Miami?
Don't
I think it was 2. So if you were somebody that, I'm going to buy a point, and you're sitting there with 3, and then that freaky end of the way the game ended on the final kick. You saw that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that
was a magical hour.
Yeah.
So what? As far as this game goes, sure. I mean, you're leery over whether Bortles can get this done, because they haven't exactly been sharp offensively in beating the Chargers in OT and then the Browns last week. I mean, they've run into some decent defenses. The Bengals after the bye, they beat 23-7. But the fact is this: if they win this game, you're 8-3 with 3 consecutive home games to open December. You got the Colts, Seahawks, and Texans coming in. You lose this game, obviously you have no room for error, and you close out the season at Tennessee, which if they can get within that game, they control their own destiny because they've already beaten the Jags once, and that game will be in Nashville. So huge game here, as they will be for Arizona going forward, but particularly because you have 3 consecutive games at home coming up. If you get this one, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, we'll see if they can get it done. I look, for me, I mean, look, I think Jacksonville and Tennessee are probably both going to the playoffs. I actually feel more confident with Jacksonville, to tell you the truth, than Tennessee. I don't know about you, but it's that defense. That defense is so good.
It is. Well, I mean, Mariota's been shaky, and I don't know if it's shoulder related, because he certainly has had some injuries, and I think that's been one of them. But yeah, you see when they get away from their unconventional approach of letting him, dictate what he's going to do back there and somewhat improvise. When they're stuck down in a game, and you know they have to throw, and he's got to drop back in a conventional thing. There's no trust in him being able to accurately complete throws.
Is there a spread on that game, the Tennessee game? What is it? I think it's 3, or did they?
This week?
Yeah, because I think Brissett's playing now, right? That's the latest word. Is that Jacoby Brissett's going to play?
The spread is Tennessee laying 3 throughout all books, and then yes, you're right. Jacoby Brissett now probable after a concussion. That was probably the holder.
Yeah. So all right. Yeah, I mean, we might as well do that game because I think Tennessee is. See, even that game against the Colts, I can't take the game. I just can't. I can't trust Tennessee right now. And the Colts are, they every couple of games they'll play well. They play against good teams, teams that they're an underdog to, and actually go out and they'll compete. So they're competing. But Tennessee's 1-5-1 against the spread in their last 7. In that game they beat the Colts, which was Brissett's one of his first starts. He actually didn't play bad. That was a pretty close game. It wasn't a 14-point game. That game was really close. And by the way, that snapped that long losing streak that Tennessee had against the Colts. So the Colts historically have Tennessee's number, but that's with Andrew Luck mostly. But I don't know. I mean, I just think that I don't even trust Tennessee in that game. I couldn't take that game because it does look easy. You would think, oh come on, Tennessee 3, they're much better than the Colts, but I can't take that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an immense game, so I might ride with it among my 5 because with 3 games out of the mix due to Thanksgiving, pickings are going to be slim. And I do like Tennessee. I do like the fact that it's all on Mariota because I do like the fact that their receiving core is now intact. I mean, you've got Corey Davis back looking pretty dynamic, and Eric Decker's certainly healthier. He's part of the game plan more. Delaney Walker is no longer an injury concern from week to week, and he's made plays down the field. I think 3 consecutive weeks. So if Mariota delivers, then I think they'll work out just fine in terms of this game. I'm one of those people that believe Brissett's done a nice job. So it's certainly not on him. Indianapolis' defense has done a nice job of late, but it's still a bad football team. It's still a team that has struggled to make plays. Incidentally, breaking news: Jay Cutler's officially been declared out due to a concussion. So Matt Moore will start against the Patriots if you want to get to that game.
All right. The Patriots are 16-point favorites, I believe, 16, 17-point favorites. And you know what? 17. That's fine. I mean, I've jumped all over the Patriots the last few weeks, and those numbers were nice and one score-ish. And it's like taking candy from a baby the last few weeks, taking the Patriots, to tell you the truth.
I fell into that trap in Mexico, man.
Oh, did you?
Probably the one wrong decision I made that morning is I said, all right, well, it's 7 and it hasn't moved from 7. Man, maybe they win by 6, and maybe because I expected the shootout, but wow, and we'll get to them later, so I'll save my open comments. But wow, those receivers, man. But anyway, I fell into that Patriots trap and trying to get too cute. Certainly is the way I would describe it. And messing with New England.
They're just 5-1 ATS last 6-game winning streak. They've won 4-5 against the Dolphins. Dolphins have lost 4 straight. And you were right when you said that they're in this bad shape. It looks like with their coaching staff as the Bucs were in that game last week. Look. Whatever the case may be, the fact is you lose to Tampa Bay, as bad as things are going for the Bucs, and you got problems. And now you're facing the exact opposite. You're facing the god of the sidelines and Tom Brady. This is if this was not a rivalry game, I might think a little bit different. But Bill Belichick don't care. Tom Brady don't care. Those are the Dolphins. They don't like the Dolphins. They're going to kill the Dolphins.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to work at home. They haven't been at home in a while, so no question. There's very little to get excited about if you're the Dolphins, unless Matt Moore comes out blazing. That's really it. They have nothing to lose. The receiving core can get it done against the New England secondary. I'm convinced because as we'll talk about with the Raiders, there were plays to be made, and those guys just seemingly have forgotten how to catch the ball. One thing Miami has done well of late with Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker taking a back seat to Jarvis Landry, but all those guys have been able to make plays.
All right, Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Speaking of the Bucks, they've won 2 straight without Winston, and now, look, you're in the area of the Winston situation there, and I know you were, of course, also hearing a few years ago when he was with Florida State and he had all the problems, and that kind of got washed away, and I didn't like the way that got washed away. I didn't think that was right. I think that's just to me, it sounded like your typical local way of handling things with your star quarterback. But that's what happened, and now it's something else rearing its ugly head, and whether it's right or wrong, who knows? But it's just another distraction for a team that has just been getting by because they've been beating bad teams. But now all of a sudden, the Bucks have got to face an Atlanta team, as I said before, coming off the best win of the season. In the first quarter of that game against Seattle, or even the first drive or two, I had never seen that team play that determined. They were making every catch. They were making play after play after play, and it was just amazing to watch. I was like, oh, this is the team I saw in the Super Bowl. Where's this team been all year? Now they hung on to their bare life to win the game, but they won, and that was important. And I don't think that that's going to stop against the Bucks. I just don't. I think that when a team just gets going, I don't know what I heard some things about maybe Sarkisian decided to do things differently, and all right, whatever. If he did, great, good for him. If that's the reason why this team's waking up, fine. I'm buying in. They should win this game easy and cover that 10.
Yeah, I mean, Evan Smith, the Bucks center, is dealing with a concussion, so we'll see if he plays. Golston has been in and out the defensive end. Missed last week's game, questionable for this week. Obviously, it's Fitzpatrick and not Jameis Winston. And then I guess Devontae Freeman's out again. So, but the Falcons have utilized Tevin Coleman in terms of trying to take his place. And again, Ryan has been able to play better of late. So I definitely agree that they should be favored double digits, right around. Yeah. Probably about right.
So, and Fitzpatrick is always due. When he wins a couple of games, he's always due for the clunker. So the clunker's probably coming on Sunday. Atlanta should destroy Tampa. All right, Houston and Baltimore's on Monday night, and this actually becomes in the AFC a very important game for the wild card. And my sleeper Baltimore is hanging in there, so I'm happy about that. They had another big shutout, so that's nice. I'd still like to see their offense click a little bit more. They've got another 6 games to get it going, so I think I can happen. We'll see. Everybody's healthy, so that's important. Savage had his nice win, good for him, but he's not going to do it again.
Ball well.
He did, but I can't see it happening back to back. So I think Baltimore win and you cover and favorite. Yeah, I really like Baltimore in this spot.
See, this would be a trick spot for me where I looking at it, I don't look at Monday night games till Monday. But as far as making a determination on them, I even leave that up the contest, even if I really like them. But yeah, this one where I will be tempted, and I'll tell you what, if I see 7.5, I'd like Houston, because for the most part, Monday night spreads are jacked up to the favorite anyway, because the public bets Monday night a ton, and they can squeeze out that extra half point to try to win on underdog bets.
Okay.
So yeah, the fact is that to me, I think Baltimore should be favored. There's no question about it. But every time you watch them play, it's almost like pulling teeth. They're doing just enough to either win the game defensively. Sure. That room for error. If you get 7.5, I think that if it stays at 7, I would buy a half a point and go Houston. We'll see. Baltimore's banged up a little bit defensively. Jimmy Smith and C.J. Mosley going to try to play through ankle injuries. Likely will. And as far as the Texans go, we'll see if Savage can do it again. Will Fuller still dealing with the ribs thing? Is he out for the year, or is there a chance?
I don't think I've heard he's out for the year, but it's not looking good. No.
Yeah.
So, and look, that's the reason why I would be comfortable with Baltimore in 7. It has nothing to do with their offense. It has to do with anticipating that their defense is going to set them up for at least a score or two against Savage, and that'll be what they need to cover that 7. All right. Chicago, Philly, another double-digit spread. Philly favored by 13. I don't know why anybody would look twice about being worried about covering 13. The Eagles are playing fantastic football. They've won 8 straight. They've covered 7 straight. 51st team in the Super Bowl era to start 9-1. 46% advance to the Super Bowl, so that's almost 50%. So there you go. 11 have actually won the Super Bowl. The Bears are starting to cool off. They've lost 3 straight. Rookie quarterback going into Philly. The defense is starting to look opportunistic, as we thought. That I kind of figured sooner or later that was going to happen with Schwartz and that defense, and it is happening. They got everything rolling right now. I don't see why this would be a problem.
Yeah, what I liked watching was Lane Johnson handling business as left tackle. So
sure.
That's definitely encouraging for them. Yeah, I mean, to me, every time you get to see this team play, because you want to buy in, especially now as my Super Bowl pick, you want to see that progress, either being up front or Nelson Aguilar actually holding on to the ball and making plays. I mean, he had a play called back, but that was so amazing with him dancing along the sideline.
Yeah, he made a really good play. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so and I've never been a fan of his. Because you see the talent and you see what he can do, but the basic principle of holding on to the football has eluded him. But if he's starting to make plays, and you can count on Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey stepping up as the number one.
Yep.
It's pretty impressive, and I just want to see the momentum continue to build. As far as the Bears go, not having Danny Trevathan again, and he's considered doubtful, that really is a detriment to that defense. I mean, more than any other injury could be. And so with him out, it would be really tempting to lay the 2 touchdowns. Other defensive injuries for the Bears include Eddie Goldman, Pernell McPhee, and Kyle Fuller, although Fuller is expected to play. So it's a banged-up defense going against an elite offense. If the weather is going to cooperate, I'm not sure that it will yet. Got to look at the weather reports, and Philly could pour it on Hank 45.
Okay. Denver and Oakland, here's your game. The Raiders. By the way, are you also done with the Raiders as your sleeper team?
What do you think?
Yeah, the Raiders, look, they're 5 points favorite. I'm not even sure why they should be a 5-point favorite over anybody. You got the team that fired their offensive coordinator against the team that fired their defensive coordinator. So that is kind of unusual. You got the rivalry game. Denver has owned this series for the most part, even though they've been pretty close the last year or two. Denver beat Oakland 16-10 on October 1st. Denver's 0-6 straight up and against the spread in their last 6 games. But the Raiders, after that game against the Patriots, was so bad that they did fire Ken Norton. Apparently, Mac didn't like it. Irvin didn't like it. So they boycotted a day of practice, even though they were allowed to. Paxton Lynch is going to finally play. He should have played 2 weeks ago, but whatever. Maybe that's something to do with Mike McCoy. I got no idea.
Right.
But anyway, Lynch gets in there. See, he's the X factor. Is we have no idea, just like we say all the time about these kids. Nobody has any idea what we're going to see from Paxton Lynch. Now, how do you know he's not going to look better? And if he looks better the way the Raiders are playing, and that Denver, still has a halfway decent defense, then that could be all the Broncos need to beat this Raider team that right now just seems like they are, I don't know. I mean, I can't figure out how pathetic they looked last week either. I know I picked the Patriots, but there's no way I expected the Raiders to play that bad. I mean, I don't know what's going on over there.
Carr's put the ball where he needs to put the ball. Amari Cooper's a head case apparently, and I'm invested in him with both of my number 1 picks this year. So I mean, I've lived the ups and downs, and he was so bad before his breakout game against Kansas City that I benched him that week. So I didn't get to enjoy the 200-plus yards that he came up with. So he's given me nothing. He's given the Raiders nothing except for that game. And it's amazing. Just you throw him the ball. He's your number 1 receiver, and you're halfway thinking he's going to catch the ball. And then it drops are absolutely contagious. You see Seth Roberts doing it, Crabtree doing it. Jared Cook's the only guy that can hang on to the ball that Derek Carr can trust. It's amazing, and that's only one side of the ball. So just a terrible disappointment that the Raiders are. I mean, who knows where their focus is this year? It certainly wasn't on Las Vegas because that's another year away. But to me, it's now that I'm completely giving up on them even making the playoffs, it's a wasted year. It's a wasted year of the prime years of guys that should be elite in this league in Carr, Cooper, and Mack.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're just on paper they should win this game easy. But they just you see the way they play, and you go, all right, that's the Patriots, but it's not the Patriots. They're not the Patriots. Didn't have a lot to do with that, with how bad they looked at times. So I don't know what to expect out of this game. It may not be the worst idea in the world to roll the dice if you're looking for some for an upset, an outright upset, because once again we had no idea about Lynch.
Yeah.
And why do you think look? I say this all the time with the backups too. Sometimes the team can be energized. Especially when it's a younger, talented kid. As long as they like him, as long as Paxton Lynch is a likable guy, maybe that's what they need, because the Broncos aren't doing that well either. I mean, they are just, again, that coaching staff is terrible. It's the worst. I think that's the worst coaching staff in the entire league. That's how bad they are. So I don't know what to say about this game other than, like I said, if you're looking for an upset, okay, maybe.
It's a good opportunity for Lynch, though. I mean,
it is
bad defense, and it should be decent weather. Certainly not wintry out there in Oakland.
Yeah,
so
this is his shot.
We'll get a good look at him. Yep.
Because he's going to get potentially 6 games, and this is his audition. And if he plays well enough, then John Elway knows he doesn't have to go crazy about drafting a quarterback in the first round. So, because a lot of other teams are going to be looking for quarterbacks in the first round. All right, Seattle, San Francisco. And to me, this is an actual easy game for me, sort of like the Baltimore game, because I'm going to use the trend we opened the show with: favorite, winning, win, and cover. No way can I see Seattle losing this game. I know it's 6 points, and Seattle's had their share of not looking all that great the last several games. But look, San Francisco got the win off their backs against the Giants, so forget it. They're done. They're still in team tank mode, not playing Garoppolo. Seattle has beaten San Francisco 8 straight times, even though the last 2 games in this series have been decided by a total of 5 points. And the Seattle's only 0-3-1 against the spread in their last 4 games. So there is that, but I'll take Seattle and give the 6.
Yeah, I mean, Beathard gets another crack at it, and the defense will go with the Seattle defense will be without, obviously, Sherman and Chancellor, and also rookie Shaquille Griffin not going to play due to a concussion. He's not going to be able to make it back. So a depleted secondary, that's really where the Niners have to go. But they don't really throw the ball that well,
No.
So to me, that's what
no Garcon.
The hang up would be here. Obviously, they lost Garcon a couple of weeks ago, and since then, even Beathard's ability to push the ball downfield some is with his timing has kind of dissipated some. So Bobby Wagner's got a hamstring issue, so you always need him out there if you're trying to cover 7 or 6.5. So
he would be a big loss. Yeah.
Yeah, be cognizant of that. And that morning, it's a hamstring issue, so it's probably going to be one of those deals where it's how he feels. And Dwayne Brown should play through the ankle injury he played with. Luke Jokel's back, so we get to see what that offensive line can do. Thomas Rawls, who was a healthy scratch last week, because he's terrible, will get another crack at it with Mike Davis doubtful due to a groin injury. So you pick Mike Davis up off the field off the street because he's better than Rawls and more consistent.
I don't understand.
You have to go back to Rawls.
It's like it's something when you take a look at the NFL and you see teams like the Cowboys and the Niners and the Seahawks, and they have so much weak depth at running back, and you see other teams also have so much weak depth at quarterback, and then you see these other teams that have like 3 or 4 running backs deep, and they have quarterbacks that are sitting on the bench that you go, well, he can't possibly be any worse than the guy on that team. So it's just, it's weird. It's just some teams just don't have the depth and some do. So, Seattle definitely doesn't have any depth at running back. That's for sure. And it's really strange, too, because Rawls, now I don't know if he's still hurt, if he's not the player he was. But last year when he played, he was pretty good. So,
I called him terrible, but he's extremely talented. I mean, this goes back to Central Michigan. The problem with him is his consistency. As Central Michigan closes out my cover with an interception at the goal line. Miami went down. I think we're done with NFL, right? Miami goes down to Pitt, and which
I got that one.
Yeah, I went in only on the under because I didn't like laying that many points.
Yeah, I got that one. That was the reason I like that one is because as you know, we've been doing this long enough to know that when you get at the end of the season and a team like Miami, not used to the pressure, on the road for the first time in a month, only a second road game in 2 months, loves playing close games anyway. It was just the writing was on the wall that it was going to be another close game and they were going to have to make plays. And apparently, I guess they didn't. So 4-1 dog too.
Yeah, I was lame and wanted the full 2 touchdowns, and when they didn't give it to me, like with 10.5, 11, I said, "I'll pass." But yeah, I got in on the under and certainly agree with you. I mean, it's just Pittsburgh's bowl game. They're not going anywhere. They're not bowl eligible.
Hey, that quarterback looked good, by the way. The young freshman for Pitt.
The freshman, and that was another thing. They're going away from DiNucci, so he hadn't gotten a chance to see this kid play. That's why I'm like, I like the defense, and we'll stick with the under. But yeah, outright upset. But maybe it'll be a tradition where Pittsburgh will beat a team the final week of the regular season. They go on to win a national championship.
Yeah, I doubt that. Miami's done. That's it. Especially that they lost to Pittsburgh.
If they beat Clemson, though, they can get back in. They'll be top 4 if they beat Clemson in the ACC.
Well, if they beat Clemson, they're good. First of all, going to need Wisconsin to lose, which could happen. But now that opens the door where if Auburn beats Alabama and wins the SEC championship game, you're going to have Auburn and Alabama in the Final Four.
Yeah, true.
And Oklahoma and Clemson if they win. So yeah, there's a lot of variables. We could see some more upsets, and I think we will. I think we're going to see a ton of upsets in the next couple of days. I think Virginia's winning tonight. I'm taking Virginia. I think they're winning outright. So
they could. I haven't gotten to that game yet, so I'm coming with that a little later.
I'm going with them breaking that 13-game losing streak against the Hokies.
I'll say this going into the UCF game that I have to hang up and watch now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't like laying 10. So love the over.
I do.
So if you guys are listening live and get in a wager, over is my lock of the day. Don't usually give those out, but now that the game's about to start, there you go.
What's the number?
And 65.
65.
65.
Okay.
I think we get a little bit of a shootout, and I'm going to be watching with my nails in my mouth.
You're okay. You can relax. They're gonna blow them out.
Oh, you think?
Yes. Not like 50, but they'll cover the spread. They'll win that game.
Yeah. I
keep this in mind, and I'm sure you know, South Florida has only played one team over 500 all year. One team.
Yeah, but they'll be up for this game. To me, I like UCF 38-34.
Okay.
38-34, 41-31. So in that area.
All right. I think they'll cruise. Maybe they outscore them like 17-0 in the fourth quarter and go away. And by the way, Cincinnati's an 8-point favorite against Cleveland. I think Cincy's an easy play. They've won 6 straight against Cleveland, straight up and against the spread, with each win by 13 points or more and 4 by over 21 or more. So I think Cincinnati is a good play. 8 points.
I did forget. We had that game. I thought we were done with
well,
that.
who really cares? But,
yeah.
there are people in Cincinnati who are still thinking that in the AFC they have a shot.
Oh, doubtful.
I agree. All right. So there you go. Enjoy the rest of. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a very crazy weekend in college football with upsets. That's what I love about college football. And I will talk to you next week. We'll be back on our Thursday time slate. Oh, by the way, do you like the basketball game? You think you got a shot against West Virginia at all?
No shot.
No shot.
No shot.
Zero shot.
B.J. Taylor, the point guard who would handle that pressure that's coming, is out a few weeks.
Again?
So he got hurt early.
That guy's always hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt last year too. That's true. But yeah, he's talented. It's going to be tough sledding for the Knights today in the world of sports.
Okay. Well, you're okay with the football game, so but I'll be rooting for you.
So long as they get, thank you, sir. So long as they get the football game. Yep, basketball game's a long season.
All right, Tony. I will talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Have a good guy.
You too. All right, that's Tony Mejia, and that is going to wrap it up for Week 12 in the NFL. By the way, College Football Show is available on demand already on the website. Just so you know, I did the College Football Show earlier today. Usually it's the other way around. Thursday is the NFL show first, college football second. But the College Football Show is already available on demand, including my Pittsburgh pick to beat Miami. And by the way, even though I'm having a bad season in the NFL, I'm kicking butt in college football. So if you're interested, those picks are available at primesportsnetwork.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. And you can check out all our shows on demand on YouTube or iTunes. And, of course, go to the Ourlads Football Network page at ourlads.com as well, where we have all of our shows, our library list of shows, including NFL, college, and fantasy football. Our next show is on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock when we talk fantasy football. That will do it. Thanks to Tony Mejia and Greg DePalma. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.